Morning, Kyle here with Superior Automotive Solutions. This is going to be my first how-to video as an individual and as a shop. We're working on the 1968 Mercury again. Had some wiring issues pop up in the dash. I've pulled that apart. We've repaired some wires. We've ran some new wires. And we had an issue of intermittent power loss, which we traced back to the fuse box. The fuse box was tucked up behind the glove box. Once we pulled that down, the connections were all rusty, corroded. The box itself was rusty, and you can actually wiggle or tap the box and power to various components in the dash would go in and out. You can buy replacement clips and pull them apart and solder them to the wires, replace the clips, but then you're still stuck with cleaning up a rusty fuse box. There's different size clips based on the different size glass tube fuses that you have. So in the end, it's kind of easier. We decided just to go ahead and replace the fuse box and update it to a more modern ATO or ATK style fuse. Now, I'm doing this video today because I actually did a YouTube search just to see if other people are replacing them and what they are using, and there wasn't a whole lot of material found. Even tracking down a fuse box, a lot of aftermarket fuse boxes, there's one power in, you run a large power wire in, and then you run different circuits off of that power wire. We needed one that has multiple inputs so we can replace the different circuits effectively. The other option I saw a lot was you buy a large style fuse box, like a modern car, with multiple fuses and different power connection points or ground connection points. We just needed a simple 5 or 6 fuse block, and we did end up finding one in Napa. I'll show you the part number and the style we're using on that. And with that, let's get to it. Alright, I'm going to show you a kind of like a tool list here of what I'm going to use, and then we'll show you the fuse box we bought. As far as connectors go, we're going to cut the wires off and reconnect them to this fuse box. There's one larger wire, so we've got larger connectors there for that. I chose these style because the tips are insulated and protected. That way, if we get a wire that bounces off, we shouldn't, but or something else happens, the power isn't going to touch any other metal or arc through another circuit and blow your fuse. We got yellow there for the large wire. I got blue for the smaller wires. You're obviously going to need a wire cutter, wire stripper. We're going to use a test light. We're going to use a heat gun. That's for the shrink tube we're going to be putting around the wire and the connections. I've got a multi-pack of shrink tube, and I've already test fitted the connectors and the wires. And then I got a little small pick that I'm going to use. It makes it easier with larger fingers to take the old fuses out of the box. This is the actual fuse box we're using. It's a Napa part. Comes with a dust cover you can take off. Looks like there's 6 slots for fuses. I have verified, and you can run up to 30 amps per fuse. I think our largest was 20. You want to verify that with your car before you do it. Part number for this particular fuse box is right there, 785137 from Napa. Alright, let's get to installing the fuse box. Alright, I'm gonna do my best to position this in a manner where you're able to see exactly what I'm doing, but this is the fuse box that is original to the car. You can see the amount of rust, corrosion. The This thing practically fell out of the glove box. Rusty connections there. Tabs are loose. And that's the reason for replacement. I'm going to start with removing all the glass tube fuses. And I'm going to record on a piece of paper or a cell phone or something. You need to record the amperage for each circuit. So I'm going to start by getting rid of this power wire. I'm going to strip the end off of it. And in this particular one, since it's feeding two sources, two circuits, we're going to have to split the power wire here. So I made a little wire so we can split the circuit. Alright, I've made the connection. Don't forget when you're making these connections to put your shrink tube on beforehand. Now let's see. We'll put an end on the tip up here. We'll cut a little bit of the shrink tube off and then split that between this end and that end, and then we can make the connection at the new fuse box. Okay, so that first wire is going to look like this. We got your power coming in. The top circuit's going to be top fuse here. It's going to be for the emergency warning lights, and that bottom fuse will be the second fuse there. It's going to be for dome lights. And that was the same power wire feeding both. If you go back over to the fuse box, the old fuse box, you got the emergency here, dome here. Start with emergency. Looks like this blue wire is going to feed emergency. This green wire is going to feed the dome light. We will take those out now and put ends on them, shrink tube them, and connect them. Alright, so our first two circuits are done. We've got the emergency lamp circuit and the dome light circuit. Power going in on this side. I'm going to keep all the power feeds coming in, the constants, on one side, and the actual output for the circuit on this side. And after you connect those two, or you get your first circuit or two done, we can put a fuse in and test lamp the fuse. Alright, so we're going to test lamp these two fuses and verify they're working. I can already tell you it's working. It's kind of hard to see, but the dome light is back on. Alright, we got voltage coming in. on both inputs. We have voltage leaving on both inputs. Alright, so here I got done the instrument panel circuit. That's power going in here, 15 amp fuse. And the wire going out, we took that from the old fuse box. Right there was your power in, here was your power out. And then this also fed the heater circuit, which had a 20 amp class tube fuse in it. I don't see a wire there. This is actually a factory AC car, and there's a lot of electronics under the hood, relays and fuses and whatnot, possibly related to that. So I did install the wire and the fuse right here for that, and I put a connector on the end of that anyways, that way power's not touching anything else, or nothing can touch that and become energized. If I do find wiring later on to attach to that, maybe the mice got to some other wires in here that I haven't seen yet, but I'm assuming that it's all under the hood. We'll leave that here in case he wants to add an accessory later. Last thing we're going to do is the radio fuse, and we don't actually have power in on that one. The radio wiring was a little bit hacked up in here, so I'm going to connect them to the best of the ability. And if I have to reverse connections later to keep with my all power feeds on one side and all outputs on the other, I will do that. These wires are going to be pretty easy. It was the smallest fuse in the box, so we're actually going to run a 10 amp fuse to that, in case he wants to put in an aftermarket radio in this. There isn't a radio in here right now. A lot of them use a little bit more amps, so we're going to do that right away. And after those two wires, that'll be the last of the fuse box. Just a quick check on the two I made here. You can see the red light on the test light powering up. Alright, good to go. One more. Okay, so here's our complete fuse box. We got one slot or one space at the end left if he decides to add something in the future. I can't, since there's no power going to the radio at this time, I can't actually test light that fuse. What I can do is, and I will do it, I won't be able to show it because I don't have enough hands, but if you take a multimeter, set it to ohms, and you can probe these two for continuity, and your multimeter should light up, beep, or read no resistance. That'll tell you it's making good contact in between there. And obviously you're going to want to clean up the wires, and I got a dash to put back together now that I got this problem fixed. There is two mounting holes for this particular fuse box, one on each side there. Doesn't come with any hardware, but it at least leaves you options for mounting with various types of fasteners. Alright, that'll be all. Hope you enjoyed the video.